Anam Netevote. I send my greetings to you all. In this presentation, I like to share about my journey of reconnecting with my Yaqui roots and how it ties to Texas history. As I began this journey, I found myself uncovering information that felt new, even though it had always been there. This discovery sparked a curiosity in me, pushing me to dig deeper into my people's untold stories and the injustices we continue to face today. My passion for this work has led me to become a native storyteller, guided by my heart and orchestrated by the Creator. I'll be honest though, it can be nerve-wracking to go against the grain, but I pray and remind myself that this work is bigger than me. I'm not alone, not in spirit, and not in this mission. There are others out there, like Lila June, a powerful public speaker, poet, hip-hop artist, and singer-songwriter of the Ne and Cheyenne heritage. I'd like to share a clip from her TED Talk, 3,000-Year-Old Solutions to Modern Problems, which was released on September 29th, 2022.
For tens of thousands of years, Native people of this land constructed beautiful gardens all around them. Contrary to the myth of the primitive Indian, we were not passive observers of nature, nor were we wandering bands of nomads looking for a berry to eat or a deer to hunt. No, by and large, we were active agents in shaping the land to produce prolific abundance. We expanded and designed grasslands and forests for the benefit of all life. And in many places, we still do these things. We became what the world calls a keystone species, or a species upon which entire ecosystems depend. And our cultures became keystone cultures, refined over time. Now, much was made last year about the positive environmental effect of the pandemic. As more people stayed home, pollution levels dropped, animals began to reclaim habitat, and the logical leap that many observers seemed to make was that the Earth would be better off without humans. I reject that leap. The Earth may be better off without certain systems we have created, but we are not those systems. We don't have to be, at least. What if I told you that the Earth needs us? What if I told you that we belong here? What if I told you I've seen my people turn deserts into gardens? What if these human hands and minds could be such a great gift to the earth that they sparked new life wherever people and purpose met?
So as a native storyteller, it's important to share our history because for far too long, our stories have been told through the lens of the colonizer, often distorting the truth and perpetuating stereotypes. How many of you knew, before watching the video, that Native people were active stewards in shaping the land? How many of you found that fascinating and thought, wow, I didn't know that? I didn't know either. I grew up detribalized, meaning in some form my family was forced off their homelands, and some even had to conceal our identity. My mother's side of the family lived what is now known as Costa Rica. Her mother believed life would be better in the US, while my father's side fled persecution by the Mexican officials and settled here in Texas. When they arrived, they had to hide their identity, claiming to be Hispanic or Mexican because Texas was exterminating natives to make way for colonial settlers. As the Fort Worth Star-Telegram put it on May 22nd, 2020, everywhere you walk today, where you work, where you eat, where you play with your children, where you sleep tonight, is where Indian peoples walked, worked, ate, played with their children, and slept for centuries before our ancestors violently took it. Our lives and happiness are built on the deaths and sorrows of Native American peoples. Our liberty is built on their subjugation. How many of you know this history? On May 24th, 1841, Marabou B. Lamar, when he became president of the Republic of Texas, declared an exterminating war against native inhabitants, saying the Indians must be totally extinct. During my school years, I attended schools in what is now known as California, Oklahoma, and Texas. And none of this history was taught to me. Instead, I was told that the Indians mysteriously disappeared. There was no mention of the people Christopher Columbus tortured and enslaved, or the kindness he and his crew were met with when they arrived on our shores. Even today, textbooks say things like the natives were aggressive for no reason, perpetuating the narrative of lamp death and extortion. The truth is, we didn't want to fight, and the US didn't win a war. They signed treaties with us so that we would stop fighting. We were defending our homelands, our people, the land, the water, and all our animal relatives. And those fights still continue to this day. My tribe lived peacefully on our ancestral homelands in what is now known as Sonora, Mexico. Our peace was disrupted when a talking tree warned us about the invasion that was to come, a story that has been passed down through generations. This is our origin story, one I'd like to share with you all. Before time immemorial, the UM were not as they are now. They were Surems, a very little people who lived in the Creo Surem in Sonora. The Surems were peaceful, quiet people who couldn't stand noises and violence. One day, the people noticed a tree that was making noises in a strange language. This tree was growing in the middle of a region, Otemekawi. While the villagers gathered around, the leaders attempted to communicate with the talking tree. However, it was of no use. Not even the most important leaders could interpret the message. But very young twin girls, Yomomoli, kept tugging at their father's hand and whispering that they could understand. At first, their father ignored them. Then he became angry at their insistence. "All right, you will do it in front of the village, and then you will be punished publicly for your foolishness." So, Yomomoli sat down close to the tree and translated word for word what the prophetic tree foretold for their future. The spirit warned of the coming of white man with armor and new weapons. It told of the coming of much strife and bloodshed against these intruders and others, and of much suffering for a long time among the Surems. But they would eventually overcome their adversaries. It told of the coming of modern man's trains. A road will be made of steel with an iron monster on it that blew smoke. It told of much more to come. Then it said, "There will be much suffering for years, much noise and confusion. You must decide what to do. For those among you who cannot stand noise, you have a choice of leaving if you do not want to face such a future." So the Surems divided into two parties, and those who could not stand such a future walked away. Those Surems who stayed eventually grew taller and changed into the UMs as they are now. They grew strong enough to fight off the Spaniards when the time came. Us UMs descend from the Surems, who are the first beings born from the ocean. That links us to modern science, which says that life began in water. Indigenous storytelling is deeply rooted in oral traditions, holding our people's histories, traditions, and memories. So as the story goes, we were invaded in 1533. The Surems first encountered the Spanish along the banks of the Yaqui River. The leaders asked them, "Hiaki," which means "do you speak?" They thought we were saying our name was Yaqui, so then that translated into what our name is now, but traditionally our name is Yoem. Can you say it with me? Yoem. One more time. Yoem. Nice, okay. The Spanish used this strategy across all tribes they encountered, leading to the reassignment of tribal names and territories. Native languages were instrumental in labeling states like Texas, which draws its name from a native term meaning friend or ally. And I gotta say, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but this is a history that has been hidden from many people for far too long. When our truth is told, it starts the process of healing and reparations. Because since the arrival of Europeans, indigenous people have faced genocide through many forms of violence. Kidnapping, death, assimilation, torture, racism, persecution, and yet we are still here, fighting for our homelands as the rightful stewards of the land.
I thought by eliminating half of life, the other half would thrive. But you've shown me that's impossible. And as long as there are those that remember what was, there will always be those that are unable to accept what can be. They will resist.
Yep, we're all kinds of stubborn.
I will shred this universe down to its last atom. And then, with the stones you've collected for me, create a new one, teeming with life, that knows not what it is lost, but only what it has been given. A grateful universe.
Born out of blood.
Some of you are probably thinking, what does Avengers Endgame have to do with any of this? Well, Stan Lee, who created many of the Marvel characters we loved, often slipped social issues into the background of his stories. Here's a clip of him explaining it himself.
Hi, heroes. This is Stan Lee coming at you. Want you to know, Marvel has always been and always will be a reflection of the world right outside our window. That world may change and evolve, but the one thing that will never change is the way we tell our stories of heroism.
Before reconnecting with my heritage, I only saw Thanos as the villain, the bad guy, the antagonist. I didn't make any connections to the real world. But now, I see him as a genocidal maniac reflecting certain leaders, both past and present, around the world. And the Avengers? I see them as a representation of First Nations people across the globe. There's often a misconception that we're extremists. But are the Avengers extremists? I think many admire those characters because they stand for good. Yeah, they're fictional. But they symbolize strength, bravery, and people standing up for what's right. That's exactly who we are as Native people. We're not extremists. We fight for the good of all mankind. We are the land defenders, the water defenders, safeguarding 80% of the world's biodiversity, even though we make up only 5% of the global population. And there's a growing movement of people reconnecting with their indigenous roots. The detribalized and residential school survivors are finding their way back home, reclaiming what was lost. No more hiding who we are. We're breaking stereotypes, revitalizing our traditions, cultures, and languages. I'd like to leave you with one last quote from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Don't be afraid of history's facts. Great nations, great people, take responsibility. The American invasion of Indian lands was not about bringing freedom. As a Kiowa elder once said to me, we were free before the Americans ever came. They were also happy, prosperous, sophisticated, and definitely not savage or uncivilized. Make sure that gets taught in our schools. Become aware of Indian peoples. Listen to them. Learn from them. Try giving their voices equal time, rather than making them invisible. May 24th, 1841, lives on. Creating responsibility for all North Texans. We benefit every day from past and ongoing dispossession of Native Americans. We can, however, use our privilege in respectful and meaningful ways. After all, we are really guests in their homelands. Chiokoyutesia. Thank you. Before we wrap up this presentation, I have two songs I'd like to share. All Nations Rise by Lila June and Buffalo by Boogie the Beat.
Indigenous people, shine your light, we are equal. I remember the days when our prayers were illegal. I remember the days when being Indian was lethal. Yeah, we had a rough past, but get ready for the sequel. Get ready for the glorious comeback of our people. Oh yeah. Rise up, all you warriors of love, all you answers to the prayers of our ancestors from above. I can feel it in my heart. Can you feel it in your blood? I can hear the seventh fire calling us to wake up, wake up. All nations rise, rise up, 'cause now's your time. We don't have to hide anymore, 'cause now's the time. All nations rise, rise up, 'cause now's your time. We don't have to hide anymore, 'cause now's the time. With forgiveness as my bow and my prayers as my arrows, pull them back and let go. I watch them fly like sparrows. Have hope. Yeah, have hope. With compassion as my shield and faith down to my marrow, I will walk the pollen path even when it gets narrow. Yeah, yeah, I resurrect. Yes, you can bet that we seen the single mama raising children on the res. We seen domestic violence tear apart what we have left. We seen the alcohol take it all and leave us dead. We seen the children take their lives when they can't take the dread anymore. It's a war. Can't take the dread anymore. It's a war. No, we can't take the dread anymore. It's a war. No, we can't take the dread anymore. It's a war, but we've seen it all before. And now we know we can change it, 'cause that's why we were born. We know we are the ones that we have been waiting for. We are the ones Grandma has been praying for. So rise up, all you warriors of love, all you answers to the prayers of our ancestors from above. I can feel it in my heart. Can you feel it in your blood? I can hear the seventh fire calling us to wake up, wake up. Pueblo hermoso, levántense, es nuestro tiempo. No tienes que esconderte más. Ahora es nuestro tiempo. Mujer indígena, tú eres tan sagrada. Traigas medicina de tu suelo todavía. A pesar del abuso de tu cuerpo y tu tierra, respetamos tus ancestros y la suya cultura. Hombre indígena, tú eres honorable y yo veo la fuerza que todavía sobrevive. A pesar del abuso de tu raza venerable, yo respeto tus ritos, tus danzas, tus padres. Somos guerreros del amor y guerreros de la paz. Sí, no vamos a escondernos más. Somos guerreros del amor y guerreros de la paz. Sí, no vamos a escondernos más.
They say that history is written by the victors. But how can there be a victor when the war isn't over? The battle has only just begun, and Creator is sending His very best warriors. And this time, it isn't Indians versus cowboys. No, this time, it is all the beautiful races of humanity together on the same side, and we are fighting to replace our fear with love. And this time, bullets, arrows, and cannonballs won't save us. The only weapons that are useful in this battle are the weapons of truth, faith, and compassion.